Hey, Chicago, what do you say? It's the CHGO Cubs Podcast, and our spring training coverage is brought to you by Blue Moon Made Brighter. Get Blue Moon delivered and see delivery options by visiting bluemoonbeer.com/CHGO. Celebrate responsibly. Blue Moon Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. We don't get to do this very often. Every 4 years, first time in the history of CHGO, a Leap Day show. We're going to take some leaps on this show. Cubs playing the Rockies and Chris Bryant. We're going to talk about the article that was in The Athletic a little bit, and Chris Bryant, where his career has gone and where it may go. And we may talk a little Joey Votto. He's been fun. Another, boy, I don't know. I don't know if it's I don't know if you want to call it an injury, but there's some bad news for the Cubs too that really bothers me.
Also, there's like some tinfoil hat theories that Wisdom could be moved since he was scratched from the lineup today.
Right.
Yeah.
We might have to run that interview with Wisdom that Ryan did sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that should be our first one, just in case.
Yeah, I mean, hey, like before.
He's such a nice guy.
He really is.
So if he did get traded, in a way, I guess I might be happy for him that he'd get an opportunity somewhere, a little more of an opportunity. He's had, not that he hasn't had opportunities with the Cubs. I think he could be valuable for the Cubs. That power plays.
Well, I think
just not an everyday third baseman.
Yeah, well, Craig Counsell's talked about the power and talked about getting him time at first base this spring. I mean, I actually think, as much as everyone here really does not like David Ross, I think what he did in the second half last year with Wisdom and when he was playing him were great. His numbers were great. No, it was great for a guy who wasn't playing every day. Like they were getting him his spots. Soft tossing lefties, whatever it was, guys that didn't have elite velo that could beat him at the top of the zone. Like they were picking the spots to play Wisdom, and at least offensively, he had a really good second half of the season. So that's. We're talking about a guy who's you don't expect to be an everyday starter, whether it's at first or at third base. We've talked about it before. Like, he's a guy that fits in on a good team. He's not going to be a starter, but as a bench bat, a power bat, a guy who helps you win matchups, specific matchups that work best for him. And again, a guy who has game-changing type power that we've seen. I mean, that's a good bench piece, whether it is on the Cubs or whether it is somewhere else. Like that's a piece that could be in the major leagues for sure. I don't see him as a guy that doesn't belong in the majors.
Right. Well, and also he'll give you those streaky stretches like he did in April last year.
Incredible.
Yeah. Right?
He had 12 home runs in April, something like that.
Quite literally
11 or
the
12,
team
and then he was always pulling his shirt to the side.
Yeah. He's always had good vibes.
Mean,
yeah, as for vibes specifically, I've always liked the dude. Now he has a mullet going on. I mean, admittedly, because of the mullet alone, I'd be a little sad if they traded him. I'm just being honest with you guys.
Well, they'd have to find a new staple for the kids press conference at Cubs Convention.
That's right. Yeah,
he's been there last 3 years or 2 years, I guess, since it came back last year.
Sure,
he's a staple now.
If you're listening to this in podcast form and not on the live YouTube chat, those are the sweet sounds of Ryan Herrera's voice back in Chicago. He's landed.
I'm back.
How many days? 17?
I think it was in total 17. Yeah.
Did you have a delay?
10.
No, thankfully.
Must be nice.
I'm not even going to answer that one.
It's all right.
3 hours, man. It was awful.
3 hours compared to, 10 more days?
Listen,
I don't feel bad for you.
No, I know you don't.
I don't feel bad for either of you.
There's never been a
soaking
moment
up the sun in the desert.
You got 70 degrees in February in Chicago. You should be throwing a party.
We don't get the same UV as you guys do down there.
And still sunny and nice.
That's why I'm pale as a ghost. Right
but
now.
you have all summer to do that. Like, you got 70 in Chicago.
Nobody took the time to climb Camelback, right? You didn't have any time?
No, I had no time.
Maybe Vinny did. Vinny might have.
Oh, I bet Vinny did.
He could just walk right over there.
Yeah.
I did my part in Arizona. I was up earlier than I needed to be, but because we had to share a car, made sure I was ready to go every day that I was there. I made Ryan's life easier while I was out there. Credit to me. All right. That's what I got.
Credit to you.
Credit to you for making Ryan's life easier. Hey, credit to all the diehards that signed up just in the last 24 hours. Kevin, Sarah, Brian, John, Chad, Daniel, Darnell, Jim, and Clement. Or Clement. Over 100. That was our month record. Over 100 new diehards just in the month of February.
Credit to all of them.
We didn't get to
these are now leap years.
We didn't get to the 200 we said at the beginning of February. Like let's what I guess would be tripling it at that point.
Yeah, but broke our
doubling
record.
It's good.
Hopefully by the end of the year, we get into December. Like hopefully by then we're averaging 200 by then.
I don't want to tell the bosses how to do their job, but if they signed up on leap year, they shouldn't have to renew for another 4 years.
Facts.
Don't. That would have been a cool way. That would have been a cool push. You could have got a lot of people to sign up. You get a 4-year membership.
A 4-year membership.
Just in case.
That's right. If there's a glitch and we don't know it, it's just going to be like,
just
you signed up on the 29th.
There you go.
They don't need to renew.
Yeah. That would have been a great promotion, man.
Take a leap.
Yeah.
CHGO, are we going to be here in 4 years? We hope so. But your diehard membership would carry on no matter what.
Yeah.
They'll be here. Anyway, so it is leap day. And I thought before we talked about the game today or anything else going on, we'd play a little leap day game. Okay? So 3 questions for each of us. By the way, shout out to Jay Andrews, who said CHGO needs a tanning lotion sponsor. That's true.
I could use some.
Some call it sunscreen now. I still call it suntan lotion.
Yeah.
And Jay also said the best 2 years. I think it was Jay said best 2 years of his Cubby life. CHGO's existence.
Credit to CHGO Cubs. Credit
We're
to Jay
there.
for giving
Anniversary
us
coming next week.
We're almost there.
Monday?
Monday, I believe,
Monday?
right?
Yeah.
Monday.
Yeah.
Wow.
There we go.
Always followed by my birthday. It's always a wonderful connection. Chris says in the super chat, $4.99, Cody talked me into Morel hitting 35 bombs as for our leap day predictions. All right, so the first question is...
Okay, I'll talk
we're going to do it by person. We're each going to go through 3 questions. 3 questions we're going to do. Which player is going to take a leap for the Cubs? Sure. Then the next question will be more of a statement. I'm taking a leap. This is going to happen. And the third would be, that would make me leap into Lake Michigan. I'm leaping into Lake Michigan if that happens. Yeah. So you want me to go first? Who do you want to? You want me to go first? Sarah says I should go first. All right. Which player will take a leap? I say Christopher Morel's that guy.
Okay.
Morel's the guy that's going to...
So you're going to answer Chris's super chat.
That's right.
Yeah.
Chris,
you said Cody, but it's for you. So
this is for me.
You convince Chris that he's going to hit 35 bombs.
I'm taking a leap. Listen, both of those are leaps. Which player's going to take a leap? I say Morel, and I say 35 plus home runs. Mm-hmm. Why? Because I think he is going to play every day. Even if he can't play third base, I think they're going to find him a lot of playing time this season. And the raw power is just there. And what was the stat I gave a week ago? I said they haven't had a 40 home run hitter
since like Derek Lee in 2005.
Since D. Lee.
Yeah.
And they haven't had a 30 home run hitter since Schwarber and
Bryant.
Yeah. So I think this is where I don't know that he's going to get to 40. I don't know if he's going to catch D. Lee in his almost MVP season, but I do think they're finally going to get their 30 home run hitter. They might have 2 of them this year, but I think for sure Morel hits 30 home runs. I'll say 35 plus. As for taking a leap, I think this is a leap based on the fact that really it's very similar to last year's team. And we're counting a lot on prospects. But I'm going to take a leap and say not only will the Cubs make the postseason this year, I'm going to say the Cubs will win a playoff series. Now, that could be a short wild card series. It could be a very brief series, but I'm going to say they're going to win a playoff series.
Okay.
And what would make me leap into Lake Michigan and shrivel up into a little wrinkled old man if they don't make the playoffs this year, that's going to be more than I can handle. Like Cody, I might just not even leap into Lake Michigan. I just might slowly walk in there with a cinder block. All right, not that I'm not going that far, but
that's something
I would jump into Lake Michigan if they don't make the playoffs, because this team, the division is so there for the taking, right? That if they don't do it, to me, it would be only because of two things. One, the prospects the young players didn't make enough of a leap.
Mm-hmm. More leaps. There you go.
Pun on
leaps everywhere.
Pun not intended that time. And then two would be they weren't aggressive enough this offseason. Now, they were pretty aggressive. They got Bellinger, Imanaga, but when we started this with a dream, it was, hey, let's get Yamamoto and an Ohtani. And then maybe we add Bellinger at the end. That was a leap.
It was a dream.
It was a dream.
Yeah.
Probably closer to pipe dream.
I was going to say, not necessarily a dream. It was a really dirty fantasy is what it was. It was a baseball dirty fantasy.
Yeah.
There you go.
So that's if they don't make it. Oh, actually, I changed my leap, didn't I?
You did.
Yeah, you did change your leap.
According to the screen that
That's
said
why I
changed
was
it.
so confused.
Yeah, you're
That's
tricking.
all right.
You're tricking Sarah.
I'm not
over
reading
here.
the graphic. That was my original one, that they don't make the
You
playoffs.
typed
And I
it in
thought, no, you
Slack.
know what would make me
You
leap
typed
into
in
Lake
Slack.
Michigan? Marcus Stroman wins the Cy Young for the Yankees. Because they were just like, we're good. Yeah, we're good.
I still see how that's going to happen with Garrett Cole on their roster.
Oh, that's why I'm willing to leap into Lake Michigan. He's not winning the Cy Young. But if he did, it'd be one of those what ifs like, well, geez.
Yeah.
Of course he did.
Of course he did. Yeah.
Of course he stayed healthy and pitched like the Cy Young that he was the first half of last season before he went to London.
Would be very
literally-
close.
He looked like the Cy Young. Like there was a
Right.
3-month period where you're like, this guy could actually run.
If that guy was there for a whole year, he'd be in the running at least
Interesting.
for Cy Young.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
And that would make me leap into Lake Michigan, that they let that guy get away.
Okay.
So anyways, all right, Ryan, give me your leaps.
So my leap. It's a leap day. Okay. So my player. Which player do I think will take a leap? I'm going with Miguel Amaya, backup catcher for now. Former. I don't remember if he was ever the top prospect in the Cubs system, but he was right there near the top. Look, I think the way you hear some of the pitchers and the guys that he works with on the pitching staff talk about him is like, we know, right? We know that the defensive catchers, the guys with the soft factor, like that's what the Cubs value right now. Mm-hmm. That's why Yan Gomes is so valuable to that team. Is just that kind of stuff, and the offense comes. I don't want to say comes second to it, but it's definitely like the offense someone can give you from the catcher position is just a huge bonus on top of as long as they can give you really good defensive work behind the plate. So Miguel Amaya, like you hear the pitchers, you hear Jan talk about him, and that's what you hear is just like everything he needs to do defensively as a catcher, game planning, working with pitchers, calling games, stuff like that. Like he does all of that so well that he has at least a base of like a really good catcher who could be a really good catcher for this team. But we before the injuries, we heard a lot about the offensive game. Right? Like we did. That was part of his game too. Is that he had a lot of power. He was a good hitter, and so he's now over a year removed from the last major injury, and he's gotten a lot of experience at the big league level. I know later in the season it wasn't a lot because Jan was getting a lot of those starts because they were in that end of that playoff hunt. But I actually asked Dustin Kelly a couple weeks ago when I was down in Arizona just about what he saw from Amaya at the plate. And he talked about like a guy with a slow heartbeat, a kid that comes from limited minor league at bats because of a lot of injuries. He comes up here and it's looked like he's been here for 5 years. That's the way Dustin Kelly kind of described him as far as like how his presence at the plate. And so even though he didn't have a ton of obvious success last season, he's got some stuff to prove, obviously offensively, and he just didn't get a lot of opportunities at the end of the year just because of the position the team was in. Like I look at it as like, if we're sitting here by the All-Star break and Miguel Amaya is the starting catcher for the Cubs more often than Yan Gomes, I wouldn't be completely surprised.
And not because of injury.
Not because of injury, right?
Yeah.
Just because he does the defensive stuff, as a catcher. From what the pitchers talk about, the pitching coaches, just the coaching staff, the way they talk about it, he does a lot of that stuff well. And if he can take a leap offensively, I could totally see him becoming just the number one starter, right? Like I know Jan is still an important part of this roster, and he will be playing a lot for him. But having that 1A, 1B is going to, if Amaya can get to that level, I think that'll be huge for him, both defensively, game planning, working with pitching staff, but also offensively, because then that meant that Amaya is starting to reach some of that offensive potential that we have seen from him, at least in the minor league level.
Yeah.
So I'm taking a leap.
I like Amaya. That's a good one.
Yeah.
And it'd be really good for the Cubs.
Honestly, he's a guy that we probably haven't talked enough about this offseason. When you talk about young players, everyone's talking about PCA, everyone's talking about Morel.
And nobody's saying, Jan Gomes is blocking him, right? Like, we're not, it just doesn't exist. That conversation has never been had.
Right. It's like we're waiting to see if Amaya is going to, break out some of that potential that we've talked about, right? So, no, I mean, it is a big season for him. Ballesteros is down there, and I know the Cubs still probably are trying to figure out, like,
Pablo Allende was up at the starting. He was in big league camp to start the year.
That's true too. But Ballesteros, he's, I've seen him use in spring already. They've used him at first base some. Obviously, plays catcher as well. Like, they're in the process of figuring that out. But maybe Allende is the guy that they feel could be something as well. But
even if you're just looking at it this season, like Jorge Alfaro's still there, right? Like,
future Cubs legend Jorge Alfaro. Okay,
they have depth at catcher.
Yeah. So again, like it's kind of like what I've said about Morel and the defense. Like, this is all on Amaya now to take control of the job, man. Yeah. Like, Morel needs to play solid defense at third this spring to earn that job, and Amaya's got to impress with the bat a little bit. I felt like at the end of last year, he also let a lot of balls go by him as well. Everything that he gave the Cubs last year, like, no one expected it anyway.
Well, remember,
so it's hard to like
out of nowhere.
Yeah, like, he came up and we were all like surprised, right?
Right, like, whoa, he's here,
right?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it was better to watch him go through the ups and downs than watching Tucker Barnhart take another at bat, for sure. But this is a year where he's coming off a healthy offseason. Got something to prove, man. He's got to earn his spot on the roster. I think he'll obviously be on the opening day roster, but he's got to earn that starting position as time goes on. And Jan Gomes is, even though he's older, he's still works well with the pitching staff, as everyone says. They have all kinds of respect, all these things, but. We got to look at the future too. And if Jan Gomes is playing the same amount of games as last year, starting as many games as he did last year, we're in trouble. We are. So I'm with you on Amaya, at least being a big having potential to have big impact.
Him taking a leap would be really big for this team.
What's your leap statement?
I'm taking a leap. Say Suzuki is going to hit 30-plus homers this year.
Not 30. You're not going 35 like I did with Momo.
What, he hit 20 this past season? He's just a guy that we talk about, right? We talk about him since he came in here, about when he's going to really start to. Well, at the beginning, it was like, how long is the adjustment going to take? How long will it be till we see the hitter? And then this last season, it was like, when can he find that offensive success consistently? Mm-hmm. Because he had his ups and downs. Like, I want to say it was May was like one of his best months of the year, but then like April wasn't very good, and then June, July, you just saw his numbers continue to dip, before obviously August and September were much, much better for him. But that's also a good spot for him to end the season on, go into the offseason with a lot of confidence and, with some knowledge of what he needs to work on. So, I'm looking at this just August and September total out of his 20 home runs last year, I want to say it was. He had 12 of them just in August and September. So a third of the year he had 12. I'm of the belief that going into year 3, like, we're just going to see a more consistently good offensive Seiya Suzuki, right? I don't think we'll see a lot of the ups and downs, right? We're 2 years in. He's had the adjustment period, whether it's on the field, off the field. He's gotten all that. And, I just look at him as, like, this is a guy, when we're talking about the Cubs don't have any 30 home run guys, like, I think they have potential to be, or a couple of them that have potential to be those 30 home run guys. And so, to me, Suzuki's one of them. I think he's got the power. He's got the bat to ball skills. He's got,
the approach.
He's got the approach.
Got to stay healthy.
Yeah, just being healthy and staying consistent and not letting the lows get too low. That's going to be a test for Suzuki, right? We clearly has not shown that at the major league level, that he can do that. But if we're talking about taking leaps, I think year 3, that's when we really see
Take a leap.
Suzuki shine as a hitter, and 30 home runs is not out of the question for me.
Feet first.
There you go. Yeah. Okay, and then leaping into Lake Michigan.
Yeah, what would make you jump into Lake Michigan?
MLB takes away the pitch clock.
Oh, leap into Lake Michigan. I'll quit.
We'd all leap into
I'll just
Lake
quit.
Michigan
I
if
won't
that
watch
happens.
baseball again.
I was gonna say when you talked about like putting the cinder blocks on your feet and then leaving.
That
like,
would be a cinder block move. Either that or I'll just quit watching baseball forever.
No, I
We're
mean,
gonna need to find new podcasters for CHGO Cubs.
like it
We'll
dropped.
just cancel the podcast.
I was looking at it from back right at the end of the season. The average time, this is from ESPN, the average time of a 9-inning major league game dropped to 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Okay.
In the first year of the pitch clock, a 24-minute decrease in a season.
That's 24 minutes every day.
That's what I'm saying. It's like 24 doesn't seem like that long.
You know how
Especially
much
if
can happen in 24? Have you ever watched that show?
That's 24 hours.
We'd
but-
already be 24 minutes into a show.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly. So yeah, so
He
like
saves the world every episode.
so 24 minutes does not seem like that long, especially if you're, one person go to the game like 3 times a year, right? If you're someone that's at the game, like
If you're a
every
season
home
ticket holder,
game,
that's a lot of time.
if you're someone in the media that's there all the time, if you're
That's right.
watching the game every single day,
Get a whole
a
year
lot
of
of
your
time.
Well,
life
the faster
back.
the
Lot of
game
time.
gets, the faster the game goes, the less money I'll spend at the ballpark.
there you go.
There's a lot of benefits to it.
So and again, and actually, I had this conversation with an Uber driver when I was out in Arizona, just about the pitch clock and just when you're talking about building the game.
Was it one of those taxi cab confession shows?
No, I've always wanted to be on one of them. Not the confession show, but like the game show.
I got a confession. If they get rid of this,
What was that, Cash Cab?
Cash cab, yes.
No, but I was talking about the pitch clock, and it's like, as far as growing the game, when games just felt like they were dragging all the time, there was a lot of time in between action.
Yeah.
There's the pre-pitch clock, it just felt like you could go 30 seconds to a minute in between pitches, and it felt like it was taking that long, even if 24 minutes doesn't seem like that long. But now it's just the pacing. The pacing is the one thing. Is the pacing is quicker. There's 15 to 20 seconds now between action, and I think just as far as growing a game, you want to get people to watch, especially young kids who we know just kids these days attention spans are a lot shorter than they used to be. Like having that much time in between, consistently in between pitches, may not be the best way to grow it. So adding the pitch clock was great, and it helps me out. 24 minutes a day apparently.
Yeah, it helps out everybody.
And so yes, that's my leaping in a Lake Michigan. It's just don't do it to me. Don't do it to me.
Thanks, Becky. We are good people. You are too.
Am I not? Rachel said what?
She's
what about
not sure
Ryan?
what to make out of you.
Apparently I'm not.
With the tan, she can't even tell who you are. She's like,
she's
that
trying
guy
to figure
got
out
so
who you
tan.
are.
Is that Ryan?
There was a good run of Becky saying I was also a good person, and now we've gone backwards. I'm not sure what happened, but
She's a 5-star.
We'll
She's a
work on it.
5-star member.
5-star,
we'll work
yeah.
on it.
All right, Cody, hit us up.
All right.
Which player's going to take a leap?
Well, I mean, I didn't know you were taking Morel, but I wanted to not talk about Morel today since we talked about him so
Okay,
much. So
all
I
right.
took Luke Little.
Oh, different. I like that.
Is it because I met Luke Little's dad at spring training? Perhaps. But don't let the facts get in the way of a good story, all right?
Those are the facts.
We're talking about leaps, man. Like, this guy could be a huge difference maker in the bullpen this year. Power, left-handed pitcher. I mean, I have dreamed of guys like this to come in and, like, earn a role, be able to potentially be pitching meaningful innings, like high leverage innings down the stretch for this team. I think that Luke Little, based off talking to his dad on top of just my own thoughts, like, kid seems motivated. He's trying to make the roster. I don't know if he'll make the roster right out of spring, but, like, by the end of the year, I expect him to be on the roster, and I expect him to be kind of, like, surprising a lot of us. That's my leap.
Looking forward to all the national broadcasts. And he's not so little.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Hear that joke every time.
So, yeah,
comes out
no,
of the
Luke
mouth.
Little, I think he's a guy kind of like what Ryan was saying about Miguel Amaya. Like, I don't think a lot of people have talked about him in terms of, like, what he could potentially do to help this team be really good this year. So, I think, again, it might take a little while to see it play out. I don't expect it to just show up. I think it's finding the role, going through some of the ups and downs, because
Yeah,
he didn't
just
have
the
he
experience.
didn't have a lot of innings in September last year because David Ross wouldn't use him. But he's gonna get. I think once he gets back to the majors, if he doesn't make the roster out of the spring, I think he'll get an opportunity to earn a high leverage spot or earn high leverage innings, at some point in the season. So that's my leap, all right, or a player leap, right? My leap, I guess, is PCA winning NL Rookie of the Year.
It's a leap, especially because it doesn't seem like he's going to make the opening day roster.
Right. So, and, when you talking about the Cubs, winning a playoff series, I think if that actually happens, not only make the playoffs, but win a playoff series, it's going to be because Pete Crow-Armstrong's on this roster and kind of just doing what he does, right? So, of course, it's going to matter how many at-bats he's getting and all of this stuff. We know the defense is there, but how will the Cubs get him in the lineup with Cody Bellinger on this roster? Some probably look at it as a big question. I don't necessarily look at it as a big question, but I think that Craig Counsell will find a way. If he doesn't make it out of the spring, he will eventually be on this roster, and I think he's going to be that spark plug that we kind of talked about last year that the Cubs were hoping certain guys would be. Like, everyone hoped that Matt Mervis was going to be that spark plug in May of last year to help the offense that was struggling, right? And, the guys that, including PCA that came up in September being that spark plug. Well, now after an offseason of adjusting and all this, I think PCA could really be that guy for them and, help this team win a few more games than what we're expecting. So that's why I'm going PCA to win Rookie of the Year.
I mean, it's going to be hard, especially if he's not up to start the year. Especially when
We've
you
seen it
consider
before,
that.
though.
Yeah.
But I think the Bellinger signing, though, makes it less likely that he'll make the team. Don't you think?
Yeah. I think so. And especially considering the talk around Michael Busch and just what, the opportunities they want to give him at first base.
Sure.
Right now, the logical place is for Bellinger to start the season in center field, which obviously impacts PCA. Now, obviously, if he is able to, force his way to the big league team, they're going to have to find a spot for him. But as far as starting the season on, I think I'd lean towards he's not, which is just going to make it harder for that to come true. But, I mean, it's definitely not out of the question. Like you said, we have seen it before, and he's a top 20 prospect in baseball for a reason, the best prospect in the Cubs system for a reason. So
sure,
we'll see.
And then finally, I'll be leaping into Lake Michigan if the Cardinals find a fountain of youth because their team that came straight from the retirement home. If they find the fountain of youth, I think that they will make the playoffs. And when I say that, I'm talking about Lance Lynn, I'm talking about Kyle Gibson, I'm talking about Sonny Gray, I'm talking about Brandon Crawford, doing a retirement tour for whatever reason with the Cardinals at like almost 40 years old and somehow being, a depth piece that helps them win games. Like, I'm not bought in on them, but if they're young guy or if they're older players, they're old veteran players perform like they have in the past, but like at this point in their careers continue to do it, I think we're gonna have an issue. Like, I'm gonna have an issue. I'm gonna be jumping into Lake Michigan. So or leaping into Lake Michigan.
Either one.
Yeah.
Diving.
That's the lake diver. It should a run and a jump.
Cannonballing.
That's the big question for them, man. Is they're old, dude. Especially in the rotation, they're old, but like, they are who they are, and it scares me. So,
to the Cardinals.
Yeah, exactly. I fucking hate them, man. I hate them more than anything on this planet, man. But, Sonny Gray's probably the one out of that where I think he'll probably be what he is. I know that, he's had injury problems in the past, stuff like that. But, of all the rest of them, Lance Lynn, Kyle Gibson.
Yeah, that's a leap into the lake.
That's if they are good for that organization, I'm
Polar
gonna be
plunge.
Leaping. Yeah, I'll be leaping into the lake. Yeah. At this point in their careers, whatever, man.
I just need to address this because I see it in the chat and it's kind of pissing me off. John.
John. Listen, you're catching this guy after a long road trip.
Long trip.
Long time away.
Yesterday I yelled at bars.
All right. Sorry, Ryan. Say your piece.
Just John DeBecky. One, I never complained about my job. Like I made a joke about the pitch clock. Like we're joking up here.
Right.
I am fortunate enough to be in the job that I really like to do, and I don't take that for granted. And I respect everything that you said in here as far as working construction, double shifts, working summers, working side jobs. I have a lot of family members. My dad, especially, he's a plumber. He worked, 12-hour days plus my entire life growing up to help support us. You worked with him.
Yeah.
Summers, winters, plenty of weekends. I did the same stuff with him. I decided I did not want to go into that, to doing that, because I did not enjoy it. My dad loves it, and he works hard. And he gave me a good life raising me when I was growing up. Great life. And I am now fortunate to be working in a job that I don't have to do that. Again, not a job I'm complaining about. I love this job. I made a joke. And for whatever reason that got you upset, but now you're pissing me off, because I have plenty of respect for the people that do that. I have plenty of family members, friends that do that job, and I respect it. And I respect that you do it, but don't come at me telling me to grow up and all that stuff when I'm making a joke. That's all I'm going to say.
Craig
I
Brindle
think he was
says
telling
solidarity.
me to grow up.
Or he said something.
Yeah, he was telling me to grow up.
Or he
but
told
that's-
me
Sarah to grow up,
That's okay.
He told me to stop whining or something like that.
Let's
I mean,
can we just be a little bit nicer on the chat?
He doesn't know
That's
me.
all I'm asking
I don't know
for.
him.
He said, poor guy. He said for me to stop whining. We're making jokes up here. This is a fun podcast. But
Fun!
For stuff that you don't know me, I'm telling you that I know exactly what you're talking about. I've done it. I don't do it for a living. I have done it plenty in my life, and I can respect it. So don't come at me like that.
F is for friends who do stuff together. U is for you and me. Try it.
No.
And is
No,
for anywhere,
Ryan's not having it.
anytime at all.
No.
Down
Listen, you
here
can stop
in the
that.
He's got a short
SpongeBob,
fuse. He
baby.
said it
Let's
the other
go.
day. He's got a short fuse coming off that trip. He's like, I want out of here. I'm done with this. I want to go home.
That's okay. No, I'm with
Desert.
Ryan was telling me about how he was helping his
Dust
dad
gets in your
one of
nose.
these days, the last couple weeks before he went to Arizona. So I feel you.
Yeah, I worked a job right the week before I left. I'd leave here, go out to the burbs, and help my dad out with a side job. I did it.
Not fun.
No, it's not. And again, that's why, for me personally, and I don't know if John enjoys what he does. Like I hope he does, because I hope he enjoys what he does for a living. Me personally did not enjoy it, and so I decided to go a different route.
Which is okay.
But I respect the people that go down.
That's
that
right.
route. I
We
do,
can always
for
make
sure.
the joke about how we want shorter games, though. That's okay.
Again, it's a joke, man. It's a joke.
It's a joke. We realize that we have jobs that would be more difficult if we
Yes.
were digging ditches.
Yes.
We understand.
For sure.
Yes, absolutely.
Hey, I tell you what was disappointing is to see the news this morning that Brennan Davis is in concussion protocol after being hit by a pitch on Tuesday. Now, Craig Counsell calls it a, quote, mild concussion. Personally, I would never use that term. He can, because he's a manager, maybe he knows more. A brain injury, you have no idea what it's going to do the next day. That's the problem with brain injuries. You have no idea. Somebody can think they're going to be fine that next day, and they are fine. And then a week later, the concussion's still bothering me again. The brain is so powerful and so finicky, and like, I don't want to see that. This guy's haven't had enough injury problems. I want to see him be healthy and reach his potential as a baseball player, whether that's with the Cubs or if he ends up with another franchise. From going from a top 15 prospect in baseball to now have all these injuries, it seems real unfortunate.
It sucks. It sucks for, and that's for anyone, right? Anyone that just because these guys dedicate years of their lives, their entire lives, and every day in those years to making it to the big leagues, right? Guys in the minor leagues, they are grinding every day, going to, some cities that just, not playing in front of big crowds, like whatever it is, like they're grinding every day for that shot to get to the big leagues. And when we first started this pod, like Brennan Davis looked to be right on that track to be debuting. And, it's been a couple of years now and he hasn't, and a large part because of just injuries have derailed him and just kind of, force him to the sideline, put him on the shelf. And so it sucks. It sucks to see. I remember talking to him at, Cubs convention and during spring, and him talking about him feeling as healthy as he's felt in a long time and ready to kind of go out there and prove it. And Cody, you were at the game against the Giants,
the Scottsdale
spring,
game. Yeah,
he had a home run, looked good. And that's good for him. And like Luke said, like, I just don't know if it's gonna come with the Cubs. They got, they got 2 guys locked into the corners for the next 3 years. Bellinger potentially being around for another for 3 seasons, right? They got a bunch of prospects who are outfielders. I don't know that it's going to come with the Cubs, but yeah, he was a top 15 prospect for a reason a couple of years ago. And it would be nice to see a guy who's had to deal with a bunch of stuff in the last 2 years get that opportunity. And whether it works out or not, just to get that opportunity to, again, live the dream he's worked so hard for a long time.
I mean, what makes it even more unfortunate too is that, like, you brought up the home run he hit in at Scottsdale the other day. Like, he is off to a nice start in the spring to this point. I mean, it's only been a handful of games, but it was a nice start, and he was someone that I said that, you know, results don't matter in the spring, but if there was 1 or 2 people that you needed to show the results, it would have been him. If he was going to somehow make this roster, you know what I mean? He was going to have to, you know, perform at a level that, you know, that's too good for you to just ignore or to, you know, sit back, right? So yeah, now with this concussion setting him back, it sucks. And you know, the most unfortunate part about it is it's not even his fault. Like, he got hit by a pitch.
Brutal.
You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like I use this kind of as, like, you know, the injury that Bellinger got last year in Houston. He made an incredible catch and then was out for a month because he came down wrong on his knee or whatever.
And Nico running into the umpire.
Yeah, Nico running into that umpire in San Diego 2 years ago, right? Like, it's just an unfortunate thing. I can't put any blame on the kid for, you know, doing whatever. You know, it's just one of those things, and, like, that's what makes it so tough sometimes with you know, in sports, because, like, we see guys, you know, look like, in his case, I mean, when we did start this podcast, he did look like he was going to be a mainstay in this organization for a long time. And now with, you know, the guys that they have in the outfield, the boatload of outfield prospects they have, it's like, I don't know where he's going to fit in. And so at this point, for me, it's just like, I hope he's able to come back. And, you know, I just feel like he's for sure going to be part of some trade at some point with the Cubs if he's healthy. And, yeah.
You know, again, even if that happens, if he's not with the Cubs, like, getting an opportunity, regardless of the team, is like that would be good to see for a guy who just went through a lot of stuff the last couple of years.
He seems like a really good kid too, based off, like, the people that I've talked to. So
I'm going to try my British accent. Rachel, tell me how it is. She said, and he was looking proper class too. Feel for him. Was that okay?
she'll let you know.
She'll let me know.
She'll let me know.
Probably not very good. It's not even my best effort, really.
I give it a 6.
Yeah.
6 out of 10. We'll see what
I'm
Rachel.
under the weather.
Rachel's
Remember,
definitely more of an expert.
She's probably a
Guys, the most unexpected, unscripted, unforgettable motorsports experience for families and fans in the world today returns to Chicagoland for an adrenaline-charged weekend at the Allstate Arena, March 1st through 3rd. That's this weekend. The world's best drivers show off crazy skills in all-out racing and fierce head-to-head battles for the event championship, engineered to perfection. The 12,000-pound Monster Jam trucks push all the limits in the freestyle, skills, donuts, and racing competitions. The Arena Series West champion will receive a highly coveted automatic bid to the prestigious Monster Jam World Finals to compete for the title of World Champion. See world-class athletes in action performing the craziest stunts in motorsports. Experience big-time family fun at Monster Jam. Unexpected, unscripted, unforgettable. This is Monster Jam. See it live at the Allstate Arena March 1st through 3rd this weekend. Link for tickets in the description. Wheels, wheels, wheels.
Boom. You got me so excited.
Yeah.
The last 2 days, you've gotten me excited with this ad.
Woo! I saw
you.
them. I drove by Allstate Arena on the way here.
Saw the trucks?
Trucks are outside.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
I'm gonna have to look,
Bigfoot,
'cause
Gravedigger, they were all out there.
Those tires that are 650 pounds. Yeah.
That's right. They were out there
what did I
basking
say?
in the sun.
I think I said 3,000 was my guess.
Yeah, it was a little high. All together,
Whatever.
close, you know.
Yeah.
Whatever. I'm not the best judge.
I did get when I read that I did donuts. I was like, wait a minute, now I really need to go to this thing, donuts. But it's
Rachel gave you a 4,
yeah, it was.
but she said your ad read was 100 out of 10. So
Big Dave, I think, holds the crown, though, for
Big
that
Dave.
one.
Big Dave,
Yeah.
In everything.
he holds the crown for everything.
everything.
Yeah, for everything.
He gives
Yeah.
the best
Hugs.
hugs.
Big
too.
Dave is an entertainer.
That's right.
He's a
Hugs, you name it.
professional.
Oh, yeah. He knows what he's doing.
Cody, what about prize picks?
Oh, prize picks. Don't get me started about prize picks. Oh,
No,
wait,
let's get started
let's
with
get
prize picks.
started, right? I can't talk. The largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. All right. The easiest and most exciting way to play DFS. It's just you against the numbers. You don't have to play your friends. It's just you against these people setting the lines, right? Instead of battling thousands of others, including pros and sharks, you pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. You can even do futures on there, which I had someone DM me on Twitter this past weekend asking me, he gave me like 5 different things he could put in his prize picks entry related to baseball futures. One of them included Justin Steele's strikeouts for the season. It was like 170 or something like that. And so, like, if you're into baseball futures, like I know I am, Luke thinks the Cubs are going to make the playoffs and win a playoff series. You can put Cubs to make the playoffs in there. You could put Justin Steele strikeouts, like the guy on Twitter who DM'd me. You could put, Morel over on homers probably.
35-plus home runs.
Yeah,
I bet I don't even have to go that high.
Say Suzuki over on his homers because I'm sure it's not in the 30s, right? And then just watch the winnings roll in, brother, because, like, it's one of those, the futures one, and you got to wait for it. But because you add so many in there, that just adds up more money you can possibly win down the road, right? If they all hit, of course. If they all hit, man, that's a hell of a win, all right? If you do a futures one. But you can do stuff like tonight's slate as well. My personal experience, I did one, an NFL one back last season. Mm-hmm. All Bears, didn't win anything. Got them all wrong. But you know what? I'm also not good. All right. I just openly
self-awareness.
It's self-awareness. I'm openly not good on prize picks. But you can be better than me. Yeah. All right. I swear, you really can. All right. All it takes is just being smarter. And a lot of people love to tell me that I'm not smart. So again, just be smarter than me. Go to prizepicks.com/CHGO and use code CHGO for your first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/CHGO and use code CHGO. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Boom.
Charlie Ruby says Morel will take a leap. Tyone will bounce back and not be a terrible pitcher again this year. That's his. He's taking a leap. And then he says he'll leap into Lake Michigan if St. Louis resurrects to win the division.
Absolutely, Charlie.
Yeah, I hear you on that.
Can't agree there.
Well, Tyone sees a sub-3 ERA. Like, if he gave you like a 3.4 ERA, like, you're probably happy about that. Mm-hmm. Just because ERA is not the biggest indicator, but like 3.4 is not a bad ERA by any means. We're talking about him bouncing back.
We were talking about Brennan Davis and the injuries, and obviously Chris Bryant on the Rockies. That's who the Cubs played today. And KB talked to The Athletic in the last couple days. It was an interesting article. Some of it is about how he ended up choosing the Rockies, how he's feeling there now when he realizes they don't have the prospects that he thought they had, and they're going nowhere, and he knows it, but he's got this big contract. We have a couple quote boards. This is just talking about free agency and how he got there. He said, oh, shoot, I need to get there. He's talking about signing the deal and getting to spring training. He said, there were other teams interested, but I didn't want to wait around. It was a completely different situation for a lot of free agents at the time. I guess I didn't do as much research into the prospects as I could. The benefit for that is he got an insane contract.
Yeah.
Like, if I were him, maybe I'd feel a little bit differently. I'd just be happy I had the cash.
Sure.
But I get it. Like, it's not everything. Once you're trying to win, he says, looking back on it, honestly, I wish things went a little differently. I don't know if he means necessarily not going to Colorado. He did talk about also coming to Wrigley Field and the billboard worth the wait before he even gets there. And he was worth the wait. He won Rookie of the Year. He won League MVP. He won a World Series. He was worth the wait. But the pressure that came along with that, and I don't know that his personality ever was a perfect fit for that, right? Like, sure, there was the Bryant the Brizzo commercials, but in general, Chris Bryant's a pretty quiet guy.
Yeah. I mean, so for me, when it comes to him deciding on going to Colorado or whatever, I think people got to also remember that he signed like right after the lockout ended.
Yeah.
He was part of like the free agents that were left that didn't sign before the lockout. And, you know, it's like this.
Well, it was kind of a flurry to get them
right.
into
Like,
spring,
remember,
right?
like when we started this podcast, we did like just all these like quote unquote off-season shows, and then randomly the lockout ends, and we're just like you were rushing to get out to Arizona, like all the like it was just the fastest spring training that has ever happened. It feels like, and when I think back to it, and you know, in some aspects, I understand where he's coming from on that because it did feel like, you know. It was surprising when he went to Colorado, right? Like,
nobody had them as a team landing Chris Bryant.
And it still doesn't make any sense to me that Colorado was even interested because it's like you gave $50 million and Owen Arenado to St. Louis for a couple washing machines, and then you decide to give Chris Bryant all this money. Make it make sense. It never will, all right?
They don't know what they're doing.
Right. It is what it is, right? But as far as Chris Bryant, his decision and all that, like I do look at it a little bit differently than I think a lot of fans that I've read online today are. And the fact that, like, you know, again, spring training came around after the lockout ended and you just had to pick a team. And you have to remember, during the lockout, teams weren't talking to players, right? You couldn't. And so, like, that whole process was so quick. So maybe that has something to do with it, and when I read the article, I don't remember that being mentioned, and so I just want to put that out there for people to perhaps take that into account. So now, as far as me as a fan, like, you know, we've talked about it at ends, like I'm at a point where I'm just sad for the guy, man. Like
So TFW, Susie said, sad article.
He quite literally is just another version of Derrick Rose, right? Like at a peak was on
MVP,
on his route to be
year.
A Hall of Fame player, in my opinion.
And that's not happening now.
And it's not going to
no
happen
matter how
now
much he
because
bounces back. It's not
and
happening.
a large part because of injuries, right?
It would be like the comeback story of all time. If
Right.
would have turned into a Hall of Fame player.
And so that's what makes me sad because he's an all-time talent, man. He's one of the greatest talents, and I would argue that he's a top 5 talent that's ever even played for the Cubs. And I didn't watch Ernie Banks. I didn't watch Billy Williams. I didn't watch Ron Santo. But all I know is that Chris Bryant won College Player of the Year, Minor League Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year, won MVP, and helped the Chicago Cubs, a 108 cursed team, not only win MVP, but help lead them to the World Series and win the World Series. He did something that no one else has ever done in this organization. He's one of the greatest talents to ever come to this organization, period. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care what all the old people that are going to yell at me about, because I know the old people are going to yell at me about this. He is one of the greatest talents to ever play for this organization, and it's freaking sad. It's freaking sad that his career has panned out like this, and it's largely just because of injuries. Yeah. That's what makes me sad about it the most. So, yeah, take that with what you
More
will.
decorated than Rizzo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Not
was
even questionable.
I was afraid for a second that you were gonna say top 5 ever, like in the game. And I'm like, yo,
no.
Like,
I'm just saying, talent-wise, he is up there, man.
Yeah. For sure he is.
No, that's what I'm saying. I thought you were gonna say top 5 in baseball, and then you specified Cubs. I'm like, oh, okay, we're not getting too crazy on today's show.
He was a phenom when he got drafted and all that shit, right?
I just want him, even if it's with the Rockies, or even if he ends up playing well and the Rockies are able to trade him with the contract, as long as he doesn't go to the Cardinals and do well, I hope his career finishes on an upswing.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's what I'm at a point too, is I just hope the rest of the back end of his career, you know, is productive and people aren't just talking about those 3 years, first 3 years of the Cubs, you know?
Yeah. No, he's like a guy that had all these expectations on him because of his college career, because of how good he was in the minor leagues, because of how quickly he shot through the system and got to the big leagues. And he lived up to them, at least to start the year, to start his career. It was rookie, like you said, Rookie of the Year, MVP, World Series, champion. And then even 2017 was another great year where, like, I don't know where he ended up finishing in like MVP voting or anything, or but he had another great year that was like maybe not as good as 16, but at least comparable, right? Yeah. So it was like 3 great years to start his career. Yeah, and then injuries start taking its toll on him. And yeah, so that's where it's sad, because he was one of those guys that Like, you look at Bryce Harper, had all this hype around him when he got drafted, and he's lived up to every little bit of it, right? Bryant was in the same way. He was one of those guys that, like, immediately lived up to the hype. Like, you weren't sitting there like I don't know anyone that sat there and said Chris Bryant was a bust after a month into his. Well, it took him like a month to hit a home run, right? Something like that. But like, no one was saying that. But he was. You got to the end of that rookie season, and you're like, yeah, this guy is exactly what the Cubs thought he was going to be. Like, every hype video or everything that hyped him up, we're like, yeah, he's kind of living up to that right now. And then it sucks after the first 3 years where you just saw a decline, just a lot in part because of injuries.
Yeah, I just again, I think related to his decision to go into Colorado, I think that it's always going to be something that I'm never going to understand. I feel like even if he had all these injuries, I think we would think differently if he had gone to a team that like was trying to win.
Right.
So,
one more super chat real quick before we get to Empire. DFW Susie says, a round of blue moons for the quality boots on the ground spring training coverage from Ryan and Cody. Well said, DFW Susie, $10. Thank you.
Susie.
Hey, guys, with Empire today, you get to shop at home convenience, the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a low price guarantee. Empire today is the best place to get new flooring, so of course they have copycats, but Empire can't be beaten on quality, service, and speed, so competitors advertise low-quality products that Empire simply won't carry. Empire's philosophy is help you find what you need, not overwhelm you with 1,000 choices and substitutes. They leave out all the junk. And they have the virtual floor designer, too. That's great. You take a picture, snap it on your phone, and you can see what those new floors will look like in any space in your home. It's super convenient. Shopping for floors at a big box store can be frustrating because you might be talking to somebody who was working in lumber the day before, or plumbing the day before that, or out with the flowers the day before that. They pride themselves on their convenient shopping experience, service their own warranties as well. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when you use the promo code CHGO, 4 letters, CHGO. Restrictions apply. See EmpireToday.com/CHGO for details.
Should have a blue moon for Joe Hudson, who has a homer and has caught 2-runner stealing.
Yeah, he's having himself a cactus league.
Yeah,
Joey Hud.
He's catching everyone's eye a little bit. It's
Huddy.
Not the first time we've mentioned his name in the spring.
Yeah, and there's
Huddy.
only one beer to drink to celebrate that, and that is Blue Moon.
Absolutely.
Blue Moon made brighter. Get Blue Moon delivered and see delivery options by visiting get.bluemoonbeer.com/CHGO. Celebrate responsibly. Blue Moon Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. I had me a Blue Moon or two when I was down in Arizona. It was great.
Yeah.
After the sun goes down and you're finally recovering from the Arizona heat, you just chill out with a nice Blue Moon.
The Blue Moon I had at the airport was the only good part of the 3-hour delay.
Yeah.
There you go.
But it would have been if there was no delay as well.
That's true.
Did you see Joey Votto? By the way, I can't believe he still doesn't have a team. I know he didn't play well last year, but he's going to be a Hall of Famer. And I don't know that he fits on the Cubs, although they're collecting first baseman. So what the heck? Why not? He says he put an Instagram story out saying, I can't take this anymore. It's making me sick. I'm not going to return my shopping carts if this continues. He wants a team. Then he shows himself pushing the shopping cart towards the little cubicle thing, and it stops. This guy is such a gift. And he's gonna be so great in whatever he does afterwards. I hope he does media stuff.
Yeah.
But he's just, man, of guys that I like that play on, I guess, what should be a rival. I don't know if the Reds are really a rival, but I like him.
Yeah, well, and you mentioned the media part. Like, he did some broadcasts with the Reds. Was it last year or the year before? And, I didn't watch any of them, obviously, but from what I, read or heard, he was really good on them.
Great with the fans, great with little kids at games.
Great
He's a great personality in the game.
Great
That's why Cody says, one of the few NL Central guys that kill the Cubs that
I'm okay with it.
He is my favorite Cubs killer. Undoubtedly, my favorite Cubs killer.
Guaranteed he drinks Blue Moon.
Oh, for sure.
Yep.
That helps.
Yeah, Joey Votto, it's so unbelievable that he has not been signed yet. I mean, I know he hadn't been very good the last couple of years, largely because of injuries.
Yeah, he only
Came
played
back,
65 games last year.
Right, yeah. He came back last year and he wasn't very good. But I mean, shit, if we're going to give minor league deals to Dom Smith and Garrett Cooper, why not Joey Votto? Just let him come play at Wrigley for a year.
Have him mentor some guys.
Yes.
Hey, Michael Busch, want to learn from this guy?
Yeah. I can't believe the Cubs haven't, entertained the idea of it. But no other team is too, so maybe the league is seeing something in his swing or something.
The Delmetrics say he's not done.
Yeah.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that's what I read.
At this point, I'm surprised the Dodgers haven't just given him the Albert Pujols contract they gave him. You know what I mean? I would hate to see Joey Votto go to the Dodgers, but if there was one thing that would get me to cheer for the Dodgers in the playoffs at all, it's if Joey Votto gets a ring, because he is a Hall of Fame player who, unfortunately, wasted his entire career with the Reds.
Yeah, just didn't have a ton of opportunities to get that ring. Right. Yeah.
And to your point about the Cubs and the Reds not being rivals, I don't know about that. They played that spring training game. They played that spring training game earlier, over the weekend or whatever it was. Maybe, I don't know, sometime within the last couple of days. And Cubs and Reds Twitter were going at each other.
Well, Rizzo tried to fight him. Wasn't that the team he tried to fight, Rizzo?
Yeah. They were going at each other on Cubs and Reds Twitter.
Also.
It was weird. I've never seen these things happen.
The broom was amazing.
So I mean, maybe it will turn into a rivalry this year just because both teams are set to be competitive.
And we'll see.
Now that you guys are back from your big Arizona trip, maybe you're in the market for a new vehicle. If you are, we've got some great news for you. Our partner, Ray Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram in Fox Lake, is celebrating their President's Day sales event all month long. So time's running out on this one. Get over there this afternoon, and you know what it means. Able to shop presidential savings on their wide selection of inventory. For a limited time, 20% off MSRP on all remaining 2023 Jeep Gladiator models with dealer discount. Number one for new vehicle quality among mid-sized trucks, says J.D. Power, and that's not all. Shop their last call on select Dodge Challenger and Charger models. Dodge is the most powerful muscle car brand, so you don't want to miss out on their last call with over 20 Dodge muscle cars to choose from. And at Ray's CDJR, you're always able to shop one of Chicagoland's largest inventories. Drive home with more money in your pocket thanks to the Ray Price Promise. Don't miss out. Shop great deals the rest of the month. You got a couple hours left. Save big because Ray's CDJR makes buying a new vehicle more affordable than ever, and that's not all. You get that free oil change here. A couple hours left. Mention CHGO at the service center. CHGO when you book online at raycdjr/service. Got to schedule that before the 29th. So you're running out of time, but I guarantee you that March is going to have some great deals too. So if you're in the market for a new vehicle, then you got to check out our team at Ray Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram. They're the only team we recommend. Visit them today and in March on Route 12 in Fox Lake. For more information, visit Ray CDJR in Fox Lake or raycdjr.com, serving the community since 1963. Real quick before
serving them well since
you better believe it. Before we go, anybody worried about Drew Smiley? Or no, it's spring training.
It's spring training.
Same song and dance.
It's spring training. Here, I
training.
think, and when you look at it with Smiley, it's spring training. Right now, they're still kind of having him stretch out as a starter, but it looks like his role is likely going to be in the bullpen, which we saw him have success in at the end of the year last year. He actually pitched pretty well as a reliever. He's worked on some things. He went to Driveline over the offseason, talking about sliders and splitters. We talked to him after one of his spring training starts. I think that was actually the Giants game. And so he's working on a bunch of things, and we'll see. I don't expect him to be a starter. I do expect him to start the season at least in a relief role, maybe a little more of a long reliever type role. But no, I'm not worried about him. I'm not worried about it. But like I was saying, is he is incorporating new stuff to his repertoire, and that could be a sign of he's like, I'm trying to get this stuff figured out, obviously, before we get to the season.
And I'm okay with that. Susie and Becky a little worried. John DeBecky, you guys have buried the hatchet. He wishes everybody a good baseball podcast.
Credit to John.
Keep working hard, John.
For giving credit.
Here we go.
Drew Smiley, listen.
Wish you all the best as well, John.
I'm not worried, but all I know is that the Cubs are going to use him. So when the games start to matter, he better have it figured out. That's all I'm saying, man. Because if Luke Little's not going to start the year on the major league team, Drew Smiley's going to be that left-handed guy out of the pen. Like, I don't think he's going to be a starter. He'll get spot starts, I feel, right? But yeah, they're going to need Drew Smiley to be that bullpen guy he was at the end of the year for them last year, which was pretty good. And I feel pretty confident that he'll be that, right? So, I'm not worried about it because, again, spring training results don't matter for these veteran-type guys. We're not talking about Brennan Davis or Caleb Killian in this instance. We're talking about a guy who's done this for years and years. And you bring up a good point that he is working on, new pitches and stuff like that. So, is what it is. I'm not. If there's any, I can't even name a player that I'm worried about at this point.
I don't have huge expectations for him, so that's why I'm not worried.
Sure. Well, again, though,
personally. It'd be a benefit if he pitches well, like he did last year for periods
They're
of time.
going to need someone other than Mark Leiter Jr. to be able to throw to lefties, man.
That is true.
His role is kind of important, if you ask me. We'll see. Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks for checking out. By the way, thanks to everybody that went into the CHGO locker. We had a great couple days with merch. A lot of merch going out of the CHGO locker, just flying off the shelves. Merch,
from my understanding,
dope merch.
We sold the most out of every.
I think so. Don't let the facts
get in the way of a good story. But that's what I heard. I heard CHGO sold the most out of DMVR, PHNX, and PHLY.
Merch to the max. That's what we do.
Chicago sports fans were just built different, brother.
Thanks to all the diehards. Hopefully more new diehards coming in the month of March. Corey and Brennan podcast tomorrow. Then we're back on Monday.
Oh, yeah.
Corey,
we've got some more stuff from Ryan's trip to Arizona. He's been stockpiling hot stuff for us.
Oh, yeah. We'll
start diving into that. Thanks for checking out the CHGO Cubs podcast. We appreciate you. And until next time, fly the W.
We all silly like the mayor.